What if the history you were taught in school wasn't the full truth? What if some of the most important stories about humanity were simplified, distorted, or quietly rewritten, not by accident, but by design? From childhood, we're told that history is a record of facts, dates, heroes, villains. But real history is messy, uncomfortable, and often dangerous to those in power. And that is exactly why so many lies survive for centuries. Tonight, we're not just revisiting the past, we're questioning it. And once you see these lies clearly, it becomes impossible to look at the modern world the same way again. We were told that Christopher Columbus discovered America, that he was a brave explorer who sailed into the unknown and changed history forever. But the truth is far darker. Columbus didn't discover a new land. Millions of people already lived there, with complex societies, trade networks, and cultures older than most European kingdoms. What Columbus actually brought was violence, forced labor, and disease. Entire populations were wiped out. This lie was spread to justify colonization, to frame conquest as destiny instead of theft. And today, it still shapes how colonization is remembered, not as invasion, but as exploration. That narrative makes it easier to ignore the suffering that built modern nations. We were taught that ancient people were primitive, uneducated, and technologically backward. That progress is a straight line leading to us. But the truth is uncomfortable. Ancient civilizations built structures we still struggle to explain. They understood astronomy, engineering, and medicine at levels that don't fit the primitive label. This lie exists to make modern society feel superior, to suggest that today's power structures are the natural result of intelligence and progress. It hides the fact that knowledge can be lost, destroyed, or deliberately erased. And even today, it feeds the belief that some cultures are more advanced than others. We were told that slavery ended because powerful nations suddenly found their conscience. That moral awakening alone ended one of the darkest chapters in human history. But the truth is that slavery became less profitable, more dangerous, and harder to control. Revolts, economic shifts, and global pressure forced change. This lie was spread to paint empires as moral heroes rather than reluctant participants. And it still affects the world today by hiding the economic foundations of modern wealth, much of which was built directly on forced labor and exploitation. We were taught that World War I started because of a single assassination. One bullet. One moment. A tragic accident of history. But the truth is that Europe was already a powder keg. Empires were racing for land, resources, and dominance. The assassination was just the excuse. This lie simplifies responsibility, allowing systems of aggression and imperial ambition to escape blame. Even today, it encourages the dangerous idea that wars just happen, rather than being carefully built by political and economic forces. We are told that the Industrial Revolution was a golden age of innovation that improved life for everyone. Factories, machines, progress. But for millions, it meant child labor, deadly working conditions, and cities filled with poverty and pollution. This lie was spread to glorify economic growth without accountability. It still affects how we talk about progress today, where human cost is often treated as an unfortunate side effect rather than a serious warning. We were taught that the Cold War was a simple battle between good and evil, freedom versus oppression. But the truth is that both sides engaged in propaganda, covert operations, and proxy wars that devastated entire regions far from their borders. This lie made it easier to justify violence in the name of ideology. And today, it still shapes how global conflicts are framed, encouraging people to pick sides without questioning motives. We were told that history is written by neutral scholars, carefully recording what happened, but history is written by those who survive, those who win, and those who control education. Voices of the defeated, the colonized, the poor, and the powerless are often erased. This lie protects authority. It teaches people to trust official narratives without question. And even now it influences which stories are told, which are ignored, and which are labeled dangerous. We were taught that revolutions are born purely from hope and justice, that people rise up only for freedom. The truth is more complex. Revolutions are fueled by hunger, inequality, and desperation, and often, new elites replace old ones. This lie romanticizes upheaval while hiding its costs. It still affects modern movements, where expectations are shaped by myths instead of reality. We were told that borders are natural, permanent, and meaningful. Lines that have always existed. But borders are human inventions, often drawn by distant powers with no understanding of the people they divided. This lie makes conflict seem inevitable, as if hatred is ancient rather than manufactured. And today, it continues to fuel wars, migration crises, and political tension. Perhaps the biggest lie of all is that history is over, that we live in the most informed, most honest age humanity has ever known. But if the past teaches us anything, it's that narratives are always being shaped, facts are always being framed, and power always prefers obedience over understanding. The same forces that rewrote history before are still active today, only faster, louder, and more sophisticated. So the real question isn't whether history lied to us. It's why we were taught not to question it. Because once you start asking who benefits from a story, you begin to see the patterns. And when you see the patterns, you realize history isn't just about the past. It's a warning about the present. If this video challenged something you thought you knew, that discomfort is a good sign. It means you're thinking. If one of these lies shocked you, share it in the comments. And if you believe history should be questioned, not memorized, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Because the most dangerous lies are not the ones we retold, they read the ones we never think to question.